Ay, 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 ay.
If you've never watched Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, I wonder what you thought of this introduction. If you've watched Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, I'm sure you thought,
Yes.
Jojo is an animated series made in Japan in which you follow the journey of a bloodline. Each of the different seasons follow the particular adventure of one of the members of this family of sorts. There's a lot of cool details here, but the important part for this video is that Jojo is one of the most creatively free and creatively bold pieces of media you can find. And it is exactly this fearlessness, aligned with very good writing, that made it so popular. Today I want to explore one particular aspect of all that creativity: the battles, the fighting. Jojo's fight scenes are so out of this world that many times it looks like it's really running away from anything you would find in a fantasy book or an action movie and moving towards the direction of myth. Of something that you would find in a Greek tale of the gods competing for power, or the crazy shenanigans the Norse gods did, rather than something you would find in Star Wars. But why? Well, we'll get there, but there's some ground to cover first. Those are the themes we're gonna explore with this episode here, and I hope you stick to the very end, because then we'll get to that sweet Jojo magic. Let's begin then. Let's talk about creativity and fight scenes. First of all, really important, fight scenes need to be creative? Do they really need to? I'm here to argue that they don't. What they really need is to be well written. For example, the legendary battle between Oberyn Martell and the Mountain in A Song of Ice and Fire, and later in a Game of Thrones series, is excellent. It's a true lesson in tension being well built. But is it creative? Both fighters are using the weapons they declared they used. Both fighters are using the fighting styles we expect them to. There is drama, yeah, for sure, a lot, but not that much imagination. If Oberyn's spear had a secret compartment with a snake inside, or if the Mountain decided to attack Illaria's sand as a means to attract Oberyn's attention, or if any of the fighters had used the audience to their advantage, certainly the battle would have been more creative, but that was not the case. Yet, this scene doesn't need it. Honestly, maybe adding this layer of creativity could have made it worse. The important bit is the drama. We don't need creative fighting styles here. The scene works. The scene provokes the emotions it needs to provoke. Nothing else is important. If you want to learn more about writing fighting scenes, Tim Hickson made a 2-part series on his channel. It's super interesting. I'll link below in the doobly-doo. So, if a fight scene doesn't really need creativity, what is the benefit of adding creativity to a fight scene, after all? Creativity can add spice to a scene, especially when the creative act is also used to convey personality. It's not only a competition of power, it also becomes a personality battle, and the hero can win just by being the most in-character version of themselves. Adding creativity to a fight is simple. All you need to do is to add an element there that is not about power, might, strength. It's something else. And this can be done in a myriad of ways, and yes, we will get to how Jojo does that so masterfully. But before that, I wanted to talk about the most common ways that authors have added creativity to their battles in the past 50 years of narrative. If you ask me why is this such a cliche method of spicing battles up, my best guess is it's because 30% of Sun Tzu's The Art of War, it's about exactly that. It's about terrain manipulation. Enemy is starting to overpower the hero. Hero has been thinking or planning all along. Hero uses trees or mountains or tables or computers or anything around that it becomes an unexpected advantage. Enemy is briefly confused and then quickly defeated. In the final empire, when Kelsier invades the Venture Keep, he doesn't fight the gods using swords or spears or shields. He actually transforms the normal harmless objects of a study room into a combat advantage of his, like a paperweight or a safe box. In Naruto, yes, the first one, the first season, when Shikamaru is fighting Temari, he's happy to stall the fight as much as he can, because his power is about shadows. And the longer the battle takes, the more the sun moves, and the bigger the chunk of the battlefield that's covered in shadow, thus giving him an advantage. Another stellar example is Harry Potter's battle in the Department of Mysteries, but there's so much going on there that it deserves a full video analysis, really. Environment use, it's easy to understand. You get the idea. Let's carry on. You've seen that one before. Two warriors fighting, enemy has a slight edge. Hero then decides to remove armor or barrier or force field. The audience goes woo. Hero then becomes faster and manages to somehow wear the opponent off. Which is exactly what happens in Bernard Cornwell's The Pale Horseman. Uhtred is fighting Sterpa, who is a human pile of muscles. He removes his armor and circles around until Sterpa is just too tired because he's so heavy. While this shift is mostly physical, it can also be moral. In Avatar: The Last Airbender, we see Katara, who's a waterbender, meaning that she can control the element water, being confronted by Hama, another waterbender who also bends human blood. Katara is almost defeated, but eventually she embraces her rage, blood bends just like her enemy, and manages to overpower her. Cool. Let's go for the third common type of creative fighting. Now, there's an important disclaimer here. There is 1,000 ways to do this trope wrong. But there's also a way to do it right. In Evangelion, we see this secret government agency convincing this awkward little boy to hop on a robot and save humanity. Super nice. And you ask yourself, why are they sending this schoolboy instead of a soldier or something? And then the robot goes... And you're like, oh, that's why. I wonder what's the deal here. In Mob Psycho 100, we have this mysterious percentage that goes up every time the main character gets stressed. And when it reaches 100%, all hell breaks loose. It's a very interesting take on the inner power, because while it definitely wins battles, it goes completely against what the main character believes and who the main character wants to be. So yeah, you were a powerful wizard all along. It's not a good excuse in general, but if you weave some secret inner power into the rest of your narrative, it can be quite effective. That's great, but that's just normal creativity. JoJo goes oh so beyond that. There's more than one magic system here actually, but let's focus on the most popular one, standoffs. On the soft to hard scale, this one is basically pudding. It follows no rules. Nobody really cares. Standoffs are powerful psychic manifestations of their users. They come in all shapes, like this humanoid one, and this tiny plane, and this whatever that is. Also in all sizes. This one, it's an entire boat, and this one here, it's a microbe inside your brain. But most importantly, they come with all sorts of abilities. This is where it starts to get interesting, because some standoffs have abilities that you would consider useful in a normal battle scenario, like this fire-breathing standoff. Others are less relevant, like this guy who can kind of predict the future if he breaks a Polaroid camera. I'm not even making this up, but they're both very important main characters. You can even argue that the camera guy is even more relevant. This is where Jojo shines. Mr. Araki, Jojo's writer and creator, he's not interested in one kind of story, he's interested in all kinds of stories. And this becomes very clear when you really pay attention to his narrative. It's not always about fist fighting or sword fighting, it's about overcoming challenges and solving puzzles. And those challenges and puzzles are as varied as the standos. With such a varied system and such a creative freedom, a creative philosophy, it's small wonder that Jojo has some of the best and some of the weirdest battle scenes in all Japanese animation. While some fights are just that, just fights, others are bonkers, really. Here's some examples. In this episode here, the heroes were traveling on a plane when they were attacked by Notorious Big, a literally immortal stando that can detect movement and basically just finds the fastest thing moving around itself and just jumps, eats it. But this lady here has a stando called Spice Girl that can control the softness and the texture of things. So after they lose a bunch of limbs and finally reunite all in the cockpit, she transforms the whole cockpit into a parachute and detaches it from the rest of the plane. The enemy stand follows the plane because it's falling faster than the parachute and falls into the ocean, where it stays forever trying to eat the fastest wave. In this other episode here, the heroes are attacked by this very powerful blind enemy who can sense their steps when they touch the sand. And he attacks from a distance, so it's very hard to approach him. Eventually, Jotaro uses his super buff stando to fling one of the heroes, in this case Iggy, a lazy dog who happens to be super powerful, in the direction of the enemy. The enemy can't sense the approaching dog because he's not touching the floor, and Iggy can't be lazy anymore or else he's going to die. What about this episode in which we think the protagonists are being attacked in a restaurant by this evil chef with creepy powers, but actually his stando, even being very creepy, just makes really amazingly delicious food. He's not an enemy, he's just a cook. To me, these don't feel like regular fantasy battles. The powers and the scenarios and the solutions, they're just so strange. Sure, eventually somebody shows up with a sword, or a gun, or a car. But even in those episodes, the solution can be completely wacky. The fights are not a competition of power, they are a competition of mastery. A mastery of those strange powers. Who can create a winning strategy using those limited but very interesting resources? A power like breathing fire can be used to hurt, but also can be used to cook or to melt ice. A power like obliterating space can be used to kill, but it also can be used to bring things closer to you by just deleting the space between you and the thing. A power to magically put objects back together can be used to fix something, but it can also be used to track somebody down as long as they have the other half of the object that you have. This is the beauty of JoJo, and this is why it makes me think of mythology. The Greek demigod Hercules used his uncanny strength to kill a powerful lion, yeah. But he also used his uncanny strength to clean a mega stable by diverging a river from its original course so it would clean all the stable at once. The Norse god Loki could transform his body. Sometimes he would transform into a fly, just bother somebody doing precision work so he could win a bet. Sometimes he would turn into a mighty falcon so he could rescue another god from captivity. Once, he was trying to make a giantess laugh and transformation was not doing the trick, so he just tied his testicles to a goat's beard and kicked the goat. See? It's unpredictable. Those gods don't have their powers only to fight. They use their powers to flirt and to build walls and to do gardening and to intimidate and to win bets. just like in JoJo. And I think that's a big lesson, especially for fantasy writers just like myself. When you have a power, it doesn't even have to be a superpower, it can be just a regular power, it might affect many different parts of your life. If you're a professional swimmer, chances are that you have a powerful voice because of all the training and the ribcage muscles that you have. If you're a physics teacher, you probably know very well how to turn your car because you really get the concepts of friction and inertia. If two musicians are chopping vegetables together, they're probably gonna end up syncing their rhythm. Our powers, our skills, are constantly blending into different parts of our lives. And this should also be true to our superpowered characters, even our gods. If you have super strength, it's not always about punching the bad guys. Sometimes it's just opening the pickle jar. Thank you very much for your attention. If you like JoJo, I have another script idea about JoJo, analyzing my favorite battle of all, but I'm not sure if my audience really cares about the series, so if this video gets 35 likes, I'll definitely turn that into a video. If you care about JoJo, please leave your like, just so I know. If you want to support this channel, the best way is via Patreon. Right now I have one single Patreon, Malkior. Thank you so much for your support, it means the world to me, and I really want to make more videos like that. If you just chime in a couple of dollars, euros, yens, it would really mean a lot. Thank you, and see you next time. Ciao!